Hello, welcome to a Very Explosion Network Christmas, our podcast dedicated to the merriest of holidays, the festive season filled with Santa, snow, or being left home alone, the time of year when we all come together and argue about what the best Christmas song is. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley, and helping me grow my heart three sides with Christmas cheer is Dylan Blight.
Wanga Banga Langa.
Wow. I guess he didn't say his other catchphrase this week, so yeah. Have to go to the old classic. So today we're talking about the season 2 finale of The Santa Clauses, Chapter 12, Wanga Banga Langa, directed by Charles Randolph-Wright, written by Vali, Chandrasekaran. When Mad Santa and Olga finally breach the North Pole, Santa and the elves must defend their home. Dylan, what did you think of the season finale of The Santa Clauses?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I liked it. It sort of played out exactly mostly how we thought it was sort of going to go, which was again fine. There's continue to be some good, funny zingers and random bits in here. For some reason, I found the joke about a printer cartridge quite amusing. I don't know, something about that tickled my fancy. So
the idea that the grudge between elves and gnomes is because gnomes are jealous that elves can make toys because they can only make useful stuff is hilarious.
Yep.
Very
but
funny.
Apparently it's history. So
it's history, and it makes sense, Yeah. So when you get useful stuff for Christmas, it's made by gnome. When you get a sweater, piece of clothing, made by gnome.
So really, I like gnomes more than elves because I'd rather useful stuff.
Gnomes make stuff for the old people.
True.
It looks like, I mean, it was an enjoyable episode. Like you said, kind of went the way we were expecting. Did I love the big climax of the film, of the episodes, and how they were able to overcome everything with the magic of Christmas spirit? Not really. I wish there'd been a little bit more to it than that, but it felt like they kind of ripped themselves into a corner. So I mean, what are you going to do? Yes, let's just dive in. Obviously, we kicked the episode off with Noel and the elves freaking out at the North Pole about Mad Santa coming through the vortexes. Let me just kick things off straight on the top of the episode. What did they put on Matilda Lawler's face? Because Betty was shiny like the entire episode. I don't feel like she's been like that.
It definitely stood out more when she's standing next to the gnome, I guess.
But yeah, I don't know whether they did that to distinguish them some more or like separate them or whatever. But yeah, it was very distracting to me. It could just be a lighting issue or something, but yeah, it was very odd. But yeah, I love the interaction between Noel and Betty and Paper Betty, and Betty being jealous of Paper Betty. Yeah, she means nothing to me. I'm just saying that. I just had to say that. She's right there, mate. But yes, Noel Sen, realizing a lot of the elves that were there didn't fight in the old Elven Gnome War, sends them away with a full-on leadership speech.
Yep.
Very un-Noel-like.
He's the war elf.
The war elf. Yep. So we cut to Santa and Carol going to the Santa village. And they find Cal turned into a nutcracker. And Carol, understandably, freaks out. Very upset.
I found this very amusing just because they didn't even attempt to make it like a CGI nutcracker that looked slightly un-nutcracker, like some, whatever. No. It's like they've literally just taped.
They've made a prop.
They made a prop. I liked it. It was good.
Yes. So they get Cal's body and set about getting back to the North Pole, and they do with the help of Chris, who is very excited, and it seems like is the kid who was watching Santa in the Santa Claus while he was delivering a kayak.
2 wild references, not retconny, but just
two wild retconny or like
things for them.
Connections this episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's very excited and helps them by giving them his sleigh and 2 plastic reindeer that Sandstreet could magically make flying reindeer. My question is, if he's able to do that, why doesn't he just have plastic ones? Why does he keep bringing real reindeer who constantly mess up, poop?
It's because AI ruins everything,
It's fair. That's fair answer.
Yeah.
You don't want artificial reindeer, really.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some sort of reindeer union as well, like shutting that down.
I'd hope so.
I'm sure he had some issues when he came back to North Pole. It's like, what are you doing with these artificial reindeer? We've already discussed this. Unacceptable.
It's like saying, why don't he just create like animatronic elves instead of real elves? And I'm like, that's the plot of the second movie. So, there's your answer.
Yeah. So yeah, Betty is tasked with separating herself, or like getting the elves away to safety. But she soon realizes that Olga is going to keep coming for her. So she, separates herself from the rest of the group. Meanwhile, Sandra and Chris and Carol are flying back to the North Pole. Chris, very excitable about icebergs and bugs. It's a dream come true. So, Magnus Antus and Olga finally get to the North Pole. Magnus Antus has left Olga a gift. It's an axe.
Yep. She
uses a horn, calls all the gnomes. They're going to war.
Yep.
Santa and Carol, meanwhile, go to La Befana's hut, hoping to get her to reverse Cal's nutcracker allergy or issue. And they finally discover that the Easter Bunny has been turned into a lemon. Very funny. It turns out that Sandra's magical powers come from using magical abilities from elsewhere, or like she can channel magical stuff from other places.
I gotta be honest. Her build up and explanation of her stuff, although it's very like just we'll write it as we see fit.
Yep.
Explanation. I'm down. Like she's had the most like build this season, so like as growth as a character, Do I need to see Cal in the show ever again? No. Am I happy to see her next season? Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. But yeah, so they set about going to find Magnus Antus' amulet, which might give Sandra enough power to turn Cal back into a real boy. So head over to the North Pole. Magnus Antus is already there. Boy. He's checking out what they've done. Doesn't really like the new floor plan. Very unhappy. Wonders what the big sphere in the middle is, because everybody knows Earth's flat.
Well, no, the problem, Ash, was that open floor plans, as good as they are, they're not good for introverts.
That's fair. Yeah. It stifles introverts. They like to be in their own space.
Yeah,
recharging.
Yeah. Again, a funny little joke. That's gonna go way over kids' heads. But, appreciate it.
So Scott and Magnus Antus finally come face to face in the Santa office. They argue about whose desk it is. He says he's got his Scott says he's got his name on it, Santa, and calls Magnus Antus a weird old creepy guy. Magnus Antus just change it. Not realizing he's making fun of it.
Yep.
Hilarious. Meanwhile, he's just searching around, moving stuff, trying to find out where this amulet is, as if Magnus Antus hasn't already figured it out.
I don't think he did figure it out, to be honest. I think he was just...
No, like he hadn't figured out where his amulet was.
Yeah.
So Sandra is searching in the halls, trying to use her magical senses. Then we get the big confrontation. Olga versus Betty. Olga with her axe. And Betty with a toy sword.
Better fight scene than any Marvel movie this year.
It was pretty intense.
Had wide shot, at least a couple, at least some level of choreography.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
It's pretty good, pretty brutal, pretty intense, physical.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
And we got the first hints here that Olga just wants toys. Turns out she's just a kid, because she's most upset that she's not sharing the toy sword.
Yeah. My favorite, the part later where she like drops it, she's like, one day I'm going to have something you want, and I'm going to make sure you can't play with it, or whatever it was.
Yeah. So through their fight, they smash each other through the ice floor down into the Santa's workshop. Olga walks away.
She fucking suplexed her through the floor. But
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Rock bottoms or something like that. But yeah, Olga walks away. Betty is left unconscious. Meanwhile, all the gnomes have appeared, seemingly to help Magnus Antus take over the North Pole. Turns out they aren't here to help the Mad Santa. They're here to help Santa, because Noel went to visit the gnomes and gave a rousing speech about togetherness and Christmas and being good. And Grog, you interrupted me.
Yep.
Wasn't the direction I was expecting it to take, but good on Noel. Like, he really stepped up this episode.
Yeah, he did. Good for him.
Good for him. And then they finally figure out what the amulet was. It's the mug that Scott got Coco from in the first film.
Yep. Been drinking out of it.
I can't remember what the elf little girl from the first film.
Can't remember either, but yeah, that one that hands it to him.
Yes, like a seminal moment. Like,
yep.
It's like, oh wow, that's cool. And then obviously
all along it was a secret
amulet.
I was going to say Horcrux, whatever they're called.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say those anymore. But yeah, so Magnus Antus has his magical cup, and is able to, steal Cal's wooden body from him. He's just kind of making fun of him. He makes a great joke. I don't know if it's here or it was earlier. Is to grab Cal back and says, what's that? Look over there. It's a Cherie shake.
Yeah, no, that was funny. And then when he looks away and he comes out, he's like, I can't remember what he says. Something like, you scoundrel.
So meanwhile, Olga is trying to make toys. And Betty comes along to see what she's attempting to do. She explains that, anytime Gnome's trying to make anything, it just ends up being useful. And then she does end up making a printed cartridge.
Yep.
Which Betty doesn't even know what it is.
Betty goes, what's a toner cartridge? And they both just go,
I don't know.
I don't know.
But then, yeah, Betty tries to help her make toys. She turns the printed cartridge into a rocket ship. And then they try and make those little bouncy, squishy toy things.
Mm-hmm.
But Olga just ends up making a toaster. But
yep.
Close.
Yeah.
It's close enough. So then we get the big confrontation. Everybody coincidentally ends up showing up in Santa's workshop, including La Befana, who just realized that Magnus Antus has got his amulet back. Magnus Antus, but Santa's like, hey, let's use the spirit of Christmas and Sandra can channel that, and then she can turn Cal back into a real boy. And it works.
Some classic magic verse magic powers,
Yeah, whatever. I don't love it. I know it's the power of the magic and spirit of Christmas, but come on.
Spirit of Christmas always wins.
But then Magnus Antus is like, hey, if you're gonna turn me into a nutcracker, let's make it quick. And Scott's like, no, I'm the not turning kids into nutcrackers kind of Santa. Then said Mad Santa puts himself in jail with Gary in Gary's jail. He's like, I need to be separated from everybody because I'm a bad person. I'll do bad stuff again. But then they talk into him to following his own dreams, and his dream is to the thing that he finally found that he loved was performing at the Santa Village. Thankfully, Chris is there and is like, hey, we're going to be partners. 70-30. 50-50. 60-40.
No. It was 50-50 and then it went to 60-40.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the conclusion. Kind of the epilogue of the episode is that Scott decides to throw Cal a prom. And his little girlfriend came because apparently Santa talked her into coming back, taking him back. Because that's what you want to hear from your girlfriend. I talked to your dad, and I'm like, okay,
Your dad said he would kill me or not give me presents if I didn't come back and date you.
Yeah. And Cal is like, hey, listen, I'm sorry for trying to push this Santa thing on you. I think you need to spend some time in the real world. So yeah, do you go to college? Which is surprising because I don't think he'd get into college. Sorry, Cal, but
I don't know how, no, was it college or high school? I don't know how American schooling system works.
he said college specifically, so
right.
I'm pretty sure that means university.
But you can just pay to get into school, right?
That is true.
Can't you just pay to get into college?
So I don't know how much Santas get paid though. So
I'm pretty sure Olga could make some money. It's fine.
In the meantime, Olga gives Magnus Antus a present because they're going to separate and go in their own separate ways. Because they bring out the worst toxic traits in each other. It's a very touching moment. She got him a shoehorn, she thinks.
It was definitely a shoehorn.
And then Noel and Betty have to tell Scott and Carol that Betty has to go back on a cribble crabble, but she was having a good time, but it just didn't feel right. It just felt hollow. And Carol's like, hey, you know what was wrong? It's Noel wasn't there with you. So they both leave the North Pole together, even though all the head elves who leave on Cribble Crabble apparently never come back. And they get nade drops of Bernard and Curtis. The first time we've heard Curtis's name in this show.
I think
all the references.
Yeah. I mean, Bernard still gets name dropped again. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
he's the main guy, but Curtis.
When you say Curtis, it's like, what?
People complained about him last season. Oh yeah, we forgot about that
guy. Yeah. So that, then we cut to 7 months later. It's Christmas Eve. Mad Santa's performing at the Santa Village. Real Santa's watching on. And they go before, deliver a bunch of presents.
Sticky-nosed old lady asks what they're dressed up as.
It's like, why do I need to be dressed up as a Santa concert?
Fucking Christmas lady, calm down. He's dressed up as Santa Claus on Christmas Eve.
Oh, what a shocker.
Shocked.
Who would have seen that coming? Yeah, they fly over the North Pole, over New York City, where Betty and Noel are having pizza, as they do. And, yeah, Santa wishes us a Merry Christmas.
Yep.
So, Dylan, do you think we're going to get a season 3?
I'd hope so. I enjoy this as a fan of the movies, and it's very just 90s wholesome content to watch at Christmas time. It's not the best thing ever, but it doesn't need to be. It's just, it does its job. So, I mean, I was surprised we got a second season, but we just don't see numbers. We don't see numbers.
But the turnaround was so good.
Yeah.
That I think they just must have had it ready to go.
I don't think so. I highly doubt.
No, I think they had some of the scripts. They had an outline of what they wanted to do.
Maybe. But yeah, I'm down for a season 3. Why not?
What would you want to see in a season 3?
Not versus an evil Santa of some variation.
It's them dealing with problems.
I mean, honestly.
It's just a situational comedy at the North Pole.
Some of my favorite parts of the movies is quite often, especially the sequels. The first one sort of stands on its own, but the second and third one, usually my favorite parts of both those are before the villain stuff kicks in. Just all the interactions with the characters for the first 35, 45 minutes. All that stuff's usually the best. And then when the third act kicks in with the big villain stuff, it's usually that's when the films are weakest.
Well,
So
I don't think the second one had a big villain.
it did. It was an evil
Tim
Tim Allen
right.
Santa Claus who made a bunch of toy soldiers and
I did forget about
took over the North Pole.
That is fair.
Yes.
But yeah, just give us some slice of life stuff, you know. Of course, the running thing is, you know, Santa trying to figure out who's going to take over. But
no, but at the end of this season, he's just decided he'll just keep going.
Yeah, never retire. You're never too old, you know. Never give up your job is what I'm hearing. Work until you die.
Yeah,
and because he's Santa, he's never going to die.
Well, he has to because he can't afford. He's sending a kid to school now, so gotta keep working.
He's got to keep working.
You know.
Yeah. Interesting.
You'd be surprised the rental prices in the North Pole, considering no one lives up there. You know.
I'm pretty sure
Crazy.
He gets free house and board.
No, it has to pay Mother Nature, that bitch.
but paying for college outright, that's, you know, expensive. So, yeah, I mean, just, you know, another fun Christmas story. I did love Magnus Antus this season, so if they could find another spin on that,
just bring him back. Just bring the character back. Like, he's a good guy now. Well, he's not a good guy. He's just a dude now. You know, he's just a dude.
But yeah, I mean, the some of my favorite parts are just kind of delving more into the lore, I guess. You know,
you know, next season you get more of the witch stuff, so like that makes
probably.
Sense
I'm sure, like eventually, it seems like they're setting up Sandra to become the next Labafana or whatever.
Yeah. Question: I just remembered. Did they turn the Easter Bunny back? No.
They turned the Easter Bunny back.
Did I blink?
And apparently, he wasn't in the episode.
Right.
But when they talked to Sandra at the prom, she's like, "Yeah, I finally turned the Easter Bunny back.
Yep.
He said a lot of stuff. I learned a bunch of new words.
Right.
You can imagine.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You could imagine Tracy Morgan, Tracy Jordan. I can't remember.
It was Morgan, right?
They're the same. It's
yeah.
I
don't know who Tracy Jordan is, so
I'm pretty sure Tracy Jordan's the name he had on 30 Rock.
Oh, right, okay.
That's why I was getting confused. Yeah, I think we'll see more of her next. If there is another season, and probably explore her more because obviously, you know, nepotism and just
I don't need more
stuff.
I'm back to no more Cal. I'm done with Cal.
Cal needs a break. You know, we don't need that much. You know,
Cal is a one
unless you're cutting back to seeing what he's doing in university and just struggling.
Yeah. It's just a one note character that's just meant to be funny because he's dumb, but no, he's not. It's fun for a minute, but I'm over it.
All right. But what we really want is the Gary spinoff. Where this is 6 episodes of Gary. Just his issues. We still don't know how he lost his eye. I'm surprised we didn't learn that this season.
It's
so
teasing
we need
They're setting it up over a couple seasons, you know.
And then we finally find out it'll be a letdown, but it'll be funny because it will be a letdown. It's like his eye's just fine. He just was for aesthetics. Yeah,
that would be the funniest outcome, actually, to be honest.
All right. Any other final thoughts on this season of the Santa Clauses?
No. Ho ho ho.
What a gift. Ho ho ho.
Yeah.
All right, let us know what you thought of this season finale of the Santa Clauses or the season of Santa Clauses in the whole by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at a Very Explosion Network Christmas, leave us 5 stars. And you can leave 5 stars or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, if you've enjoyed what we've done here with the Santa Clauses, I think it's worth it all. Head on over to our Go page at explosion.com/supports. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, remember, we must be held to the highest standards of behavior. It's the only thing separating us from the trolls. It works both as trolls inside the the
Yeah.
mythical.
It's a double entendre.
It also trolls like on the internet
Yeah.
or in real life.